distressed listings is up by about 1% over the past month, but is essentially flat year on year. So far, even while interest rates have been elevated and even while the economy has been slowing, the average person out there or average borrower out there has not been forced to sell their home. They've been getting by cutting their discretionary spending, but they have not yet let go of the keys to the house.
When we look at the national home values, Melbourne is actually going backwards. It's declining when it comes to values. What's going on there?
There's a number of reasons why Melbourne at the moment is going backwards. I believe we've seen a slowdown in migration. The reality is that when we have overseas arrivals, being permanent arrivals, they tend to come to Melbourne and Sydney first and foremost. Now, if we're correct that we're seeing a slowdown in migration growth rates, and we won't know until another 6 months from now, that would impact upon underlying demand for housing in both Sydney and Melbourne. Sydney is actually slowing down, and we do believe that we're about to enter a period of housing price falls in Sydney as well. I think that, combined with the fact that there's been some adverse property taxes assigned to the state of Victoria over and above other states, that's kind of deterred investors from entering into the Victorian market as well, which has meant that we've seen a slower rate of demand for housing in Melbourne.
And you mentioned price falls are set to follow in Sydney. I mean, are affordability constraints really starting to kick in? I mean, it seems like when you look on those websites, it's taking longer for houses to sell. And in fact, they're not being sold at auction now. They've got a for sale price on them.
Well, that's absolutely true. All the leading indicators that we have are definitely suggesting Sydney is slowing down and will go into housing price falls. We're recording auction clearance rates now in the high 40s, whereas in a normal market you see auction clearance rates at 60% plus. We're recording a rise in the total number of listings in the Sydney market, up by about 17% year on year. It's about the same as Melbourne. That city is also up by about 17% as well. And we're also noticing that vendors are discounting more. They're becoming more negotiable in both cities. And so asking prices have been coming down.
We're still seeing Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth really performing very strongly though. What's your outlook for the housing market as we head through spring and into summer and face the prospect of rate cuts?
We have Perth up, for example, by 25% year on year. Brisbane's up by about 20% year on year, and the same with Adelaide as well. Though we've started to notice just a little bit of a slowdown in some of the leading indicators for all three cities. And indeed, in the Perth housing market, we're noticing that rents are now falling. And we've found in the past that rents have been a very good leading indicator of the Perth housing market. So we do believe Perth's housing market's about to slow down. I think overall, though, we'll finish 2024 for those three cities on very much a high. And for Sydney and Melbourne, Hobart, Darwin and Canberra, we're likely to see some housing price falls. And then, as you point out, yes, if we do see a rate cut at the beginning of, say, 2025, this could mean that this slowdown/downturn we're seeing in the market now will just be a limited window.
Louis Christopher, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.